Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvadaum Ganganapate Namaha Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sarvamangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Devi Narayani Namostute Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samstita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha Om Namo Narayanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Shivaya Sarvamangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Devi Narayani Namostute Om Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha Shri Paramagurubhyo Namaha Om Namo Narayanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 11th of September 2025, a day that most people remember because of the Twin Tower disaster and all those kinds of things, so we want to offer today's satsang to all of the individuals who passed away on that day, the families, and anybody who suffered because of that. May God give everyone better intelligence without having these kinds of problems being created. I want to offer my prostrations to all the great sages and to Bhagwan Krishna, Shri Radhika Ji. You can see beautifully on the screen. I'm going to try to remember to put the beautiful Vigraha, the images, murtis of Bhagwan, God's incarnations on the screen, so our attention can be fixed on Bhagwan while this exposition is going on. I also want to offer my prostrations to all the sages and to the Ishwar Parameshwar Tattva residing in the heart of all beings at all times. With that prarthana, we are continuing to examine beautifully what is meant by the Mukta state, the Jivan Mukta state, liberated living. It's a matter of setting that destination, as we mentioned yesterday. Is it possible to set the destination? Yes. Right? So, to continue from last time, to continue further, today we will be looking at the concept of the ego habit. What is the ego habit? What is that actually? And what can be done with it? What can be done with this ego habit? It's very interesting. What is an ego habit? Ego habit has 4 aspects. Okay, those 4 aspects are ahankar, vasanas, sanskara, and the chit, manas, and buddhi. I'll go through all of these very carefully so we can better understand what is an ego habit. The ahankar is such, this is a Sanskrit word, ahankar is such, it is the ego maker. It is the creator of the ego. It is the reflex that claims I and mine. The feeling that I am and this is mine. This is coming from ahankar. It is actually, one of the powers of Paramatma that is given to the Jivatma because of its attachments into Mahamaya, and it wants to experience Mahamaya. So this is called the ego maker, and it generates the ahankar. What does it do? It generates ownership and credit. I want credit in my life. It generates ownership. That this is mine, and it defends a preferred self-image. So let's be clear about some of these points. That the ahankar, first of all, point number 1, generates ownership. Mera hai, mine. Yes, that is absolutely there. It is needed in the functional realm because we're living in the world where everyone has ahankar, and we're living in the dualistic world If someone says that there is no ahankar of any kind, there are sannyasis who try to live this way. They roam around. They're roaming sannyasis. Even they're there today in India. And they don't stay in even one place for more than few hours. Maybe a day at the most. And then they move. They keep moving. They don't know where the next meal is going to come from. They wear very little clothing. They have a lot of vairagya and they keep moving. They have considered the body as false. And this, ye bhi ek extreme sadhana hai. So they've tried to do this, to get rid of the ahankar completely. Maybe that's a way to do that. I don't know. Maybe it can work. Maybe it can cause a lot of problems also. Right? But for all of us, we cannot do that, nor should we try to do that. What we can do is to recognize the distinction between a functional level of ownership and then everything that is no longer part of that is not part of that. For example, I have a key to my home. I have a key that opens my lock at home. Is that not ahankar? Yes, it is. And that is needed. If you don't have that, you cannot live in the world. I cannot keep the door open just like that, right? And then just go out for hours and hours. We have to lock our doors. We have to lock our cars. Why do we do this? We have our name on our bank account. Is that not ahankar? It is. But that is a functional, transactional ahankar. There's no problem with that. Even in that, we just recognize it that is for interacting in the world. In the bigger sense, when we are no longer living in this world, there is no question of those things. Obviously, when the body is not there, to mera kya hai? Kuch nahi, nothing is there. But while the body is here, yes, all of this functionally needs to be there, and we can serve the world, try to find ways to make the world better. That's fine. Okay, that's about ownership. Now, there's several points. Credit is another point here about ahankar. I want to get credit for what I'm doing. Is there a functional realm of that? Yes. If you are making a resume, you have to put your education and work experience. Is that ego? Yes. But it's not a harmful ego. It can be if you're, trying to think you're superior to somebody else. Yeah, then in that sense, it is needed. It is part of the realm of the world that we live in. That's called credit. And the third part is an interesting one. That is the defending of a preferred self-image. I have created a self-image about myself. I should be this way. I should be that way. I want to see myself. I want 10 people, 15 people, 50 people, 1,000 people to see me in a particular way. That is called a preferred self-image. Isn't it interesting? All of this is necessary to understand and to recognize in the mukta state. In the liberated state, how does this all connect to the mukta state? Think about it. See what the connection is. The connection to the liberated state is that yes, there is a functional ahankar in the relative world, and one is still a mukta maintaining that. If you don't maintain it, you cannot even put clothes on your body. There is no sense that ye mera sharir hi nahi hai. We say that we are not the body, but we have a sense of maintaining the body. The body is, no doubt we are separate from the body. The Atma Tattva is different from the body. But that doesn't mean that there is neglect of the body. The cleanliness of the body. The body is a mechanism. It is a sadhan. It is a means to an end. It is not to be neglected, etc. So what is the link in the mukta state? A mukta is a liberated being who internally has realized that only Bhagavan is mine. God belongs to the Atman. That's a realization. Interactional Vyavarika Satyam continues exactly the way, in the best way. In fact, those issues will not be there. We'll know exactly how to set up our life in the best way. No additional extraneous trouble will come at all. This is in the mukta state. Also, the thing about credit, I want so much credit for me, this, that. Where it is necessary, even if the credit is given, it is all given back to God. You see, this is key point. This is how the muktas live, liberated beings. When they are praised, they are remembering their guru or they're remembering Bhagavan. They're not taking that on to themselves. This happens in all of our lives. All the time it happens. Somebody says even one good word about all of us, right? Something good somebody says, we take it on. Immediately that is turned over at the feet of Paramatma. It's not taken on at all. Important. Even though functionally one might get a promotion, one might get a pay raise, one might get lots of accolades, one might, all those things happen, right? But the ego doesn't get hold of that at all. Everything is turned over to Bhagavan. Atma Nivedanam. So, see, these are the practical things, very straightforward. Also, when the other side is there, when blame is there, criticism is there, negative things are being said, there is steadiness. That they're being said to the body, not to me. They're being said to this name and form. They're not, the Atma Tattva is untouched. Atma Gnan aa jata hai isme. You know how interesting that is. Somebody says something negative. Obviously that negative thing we're not going to turn over at the feet of Bhagavan. But we remember the words of Paramatma. Remember, be steady. Don't get drawn into that language. As we mentioned a couple of days back, all sound, negative, positive, any sound made by anybody is seen as Nada Brahma. That is the topmost. So the Mukta perceives it as Nada Brahma. Bhagwan hi bol rahe. Somebody starts yelling and screaming and shouting at Sachin. Stand very steady. Be very still from inside. Don't respond. Don't feed into that. See the movement of the ahankar. Can you imagine this situation? We probably all have been in such situations and we want to thrash the person and respond right away and do all kinds of things. Right away we want to respond and thrash somebody. No. Sahan Shakti, Sthirta, Sthir Buddhi, Sthir Vritti, steadiness. That quality is to be brought right there and then. As soon as there is something negative, something blaming, some criticism, this and that, our ego doesn't like this. Whose ego? Show me even one person who says, you know what, I'm very happy when somebody's criticizing me. You know who used to be happy like that? Yogiji Maharaj in the BAPS Parampara. He says if somebody would praise him, he was not happy about that. If somebody would blame him and criticize, I'm okay, that's good, that gives me a chance to improve even more. Kiski vritti aisi ho sakti? How is that possible? When even if somebody says one tiny thing even if somebody puts a text message, with an exclamation mark or something or other, something, said, my God, we start analyzing it. Why the person said this, I said this. We go into so much analysis. Isn't it so? This is our life. This is humanity's life. Mukta sthiti mein kya hai? Of course, we are aware of what is happening. We're aware of the dynamics of the ego, dynamics of interaction. But the internal luminous lamp of freedom, the internal luminosity, Swayam Prakash, Atma Prakash, Divya Prakash, Bhakti ka Prakash, that is unchanged. That is not changed. See this point. Are we in that state now? We want to be mukta? Bring all this in. Not because Sachin is saying so. This is the truth that is being expounded. This is nothing we don't understand. We know this. But are we in that state now? And then we can say, well, let's look at it and see. And if we are not, get into that state. That's all. What's the big deal? Why keep saying, I don't know how to do this. I'm not sure if I can do it. We keep saying language internally that pulls us away from that. Use language that I am a mukta, aham brahmasmi, main mukta hi hu, I am a liberated being, main jivan mukta hu, I'm living, there's a living, and I'm a liberated being. That's all. So somebody spits. So think about this. Koi aa gaya on the street. What if somebody spits at us? Steady. Wipe it off. that fluid came on the body, not on the Atma. Usko ashirvad dena and move on. What if somebody comes and showers garlands and flowers and bows down and starts prostration in front of us? Give it to Bhagwan. Bhagwan ke charanon mein samarpit kar dena. There is no running away from that. Be steady. This is the difficult part. That internal steadiness, complete steadiness, is called sthirta. And this is where sublimation happens. Now there's 3 more words here. And I will definitely send you, I'm working on some research on this that will be very helpful to share this in a document form. But these audios are also available for you. That there is a difference between abortion with a quotation. I'm going to explain. I don't mean that, it's not the baby abortion we're talking about. We're going to explain these words. Abortion versus suppression versus sublimation. There are 3 points here. Abortion here means interrupting a maladaptive loop at its generative point. So it fails to instantiate. It doesn't take hold. Somebody starts praising, somebody starts saying something good about us, and we recognize that there is a ego loop that is beginning to open. We can abort it right away. Abort it means to stop it right away. So it doesn't grow. It fails to instantiate. It doesn't grow. How do we do that? Bhagwan ka naam. That is the most straightforward way. Narayana, 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 Narayana. Ram, 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 Krishna, 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 Shiv, Shiv, Shiv. Bhagwan, Bhagvat Naam. When there is any detection of the ego opening up in a negative sense, positive sense, in any sense, to interrupt it right away so that it doesn't grow, this is called abortion. Abortion, not that aborting the baby. This is another use of this word. It's to interrupt a maladaptive loop. It's not adaptive. We want to be adaptive into the sthita prajna state. Okay, there's another point here. Suppression. Suppression pushes the habit down, but it will rebound. Somebody can try to suppress the ego. Oh, no, I shouldn't be feeling this way. You keep pushing it down somehow by effort. It will rebound. So that's also not really the best solution. The best solution is sublimation or transfiguration that redirects the same energy towards a sacred end. The same Shakti that is going in, out of the ego current that, wow, this is something amazing, I'm being praised and all that, ownership and credit and all the self-image and all those things, isme jo Shakti ja rahi hai, that is redirected towards the sacred, meaning jo pavitra hai, jo Bhagwan hai. The word sacred is spelled S-A-C-R-E-D. Sacred. It means pavitra, it means holy. It means divya, divine. So it is a redirection of the ahankar towards the sacred end. So this ahankar, it changes its direction and the energy within it changes radically for a mukta. And until that happens, there cannot be the mukta state. To reach a mukta state, a liberated, living, liberated state, the sublimation is the key. It's also called transfiguration. 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 2 words. Sublimation and transfiguration. That redirects the same Shakti that is inside of us towards Bhagwan. Bhagavad Darshan. Bhagavad Ichha. The natural steadiness is never abandoned. Right? So there are 4 specific aspects of the ego habit. And this is one of the ways the ahankar works. We've been looking at that. I hope this makes sense. Now, what are the practical exercises to be done? First exercise for today. Practical. Do it today. Differentiate between functional ego and that ego that doesn't need to remain in our life. Functional. Yeah, we lock our doors. We have names in our bank accounts. Things like that. We have clothing. I can say these are my clothes or these are my mala. Things like that. Functional. Transactional. It is called transactional ahankar. Yes, no problem with that. Right? So this is, but separate it out. If the ahankar is getting inflated in some other way, bring it back into a sublimated state. Take the name, the holy name, Ram, Ram, Krishna, Krishna, Bhagwan ke jo mantra hai, and redirect the energy towards that sacred end. Sacred meaning divya, divine. What is the end? Bhagvat Dham. Bhagwan ka sakshatkar. We want to be in communion with God. We want to have the realization of Paramatma, Bhagwan. That is the sacred end. So that the mumukshu moving into a mukta dimension never forgets this sacred end. That this is my destination. And not to change that, but is not forgotten at all. That is called sublimation. And so when we take the name of Radha, this is a very straightforward sadhana. It's a very easy sadhana in one sense, if you do it properly. Just the mantra Radha. Radha is a mantra. Radha, 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 Radha. We have Radha in Krishna ki murti hai. Everybody can do this mantra. Yeah, other mantras are longer. Hare Krishna mantra, Sri Krishna Tvam Gatir Mama, or Sri Krishna Sharanam. These are longer mantras. There's a very simple do akshar ka mantra. Radha. That's it. Radha. See, if you say it from the heart, Radha. It is a powerful vibration, very stabilizing vibration. And how to do the mantra? Radhika ji ki murti hai. उनके चरणों में पुष्पार्पण कीजिए. स्वरूप बहुत सुंदर है. किशोरी स्वरूप है. With that kind of bhav, with love, ask for love. And ask for this sthiti. Ask for the turning over of the ahankar and the energy inside ahankar into bhakti. When we ask this way 100% genuinely, in Gujarati we say Bhagwan paase magu, sampurna magu. Ask everything. Don't hold back. Don't hold anything back. Ask. And when we ask, there is the turning over of the ahankar completely at the feet of Shri Radha ji, of Sri Krishna. वो तो एक ही है. Shakti or Shaktiman. The turning over of the ahankar at the feet of Guru, at the feet of Ishta Devata. Guru meaning बहुत जो बड़े बड़े संत है. If there is that kind of shraddha, fine. If not, Radha Krishna, you can make them guru, no problem. Koi baat nahi. Hanuman ji ka guru banana. Start with that, it's alright. If physical guru is available, fine. Learn from everybody as we're doing here. We learn from each other. We learn from so many places. That's fine. That is also guru. But the attachment, the internal giving over of the ahankar is at the feet of Bhagwan or Bhagwan ke jo uttam bhakta hai. In this case, Bhagwan Krishna Paramatma or unke jo uttam bhakta hai, topmost bhakta hai, that is Shri Radhika ji. And so we turn it over. How do we turn over? Bhajan Kirtan, etc. There's a question. Yes, go ahead. So be very clear. The word ahankar, this word, first of all, be very clear. The word ahankar in Sanskrit, it is that power of God that creates the ego. Technically, it is the ego maker. We tend to use the word equally. Ahankar is ego, but it's not really like that. Ahankar is an evolute in the creative process of the universe. It's a little more technical explanation. Some other time we'll get into it. But ahankar is the ego maker that gives the jiva the experience of I am Sachin. So that feeling, I am Sachin, and this mala is mine, this shirt is mine, this money is mine, this family is mine, these people are mine. I and mine. Me, hu and maru in Gujarati. Me or mera. I and mine. I doesn't mean the atma. I means the personality. Understand? So this is the first thing to understand here. Now, let's be very clear. In the world that we're living in human society, when the body is created, that I and mine has to develop. If it doesn't develop, we cannot survive in the world. It has, but it develops in a way, if it's done ideally. This is how the rishis used to raise their children through the mantras and all. Because they were all married. Most of them were married. But they would have these divine kids who also became rishis, because they were brought up only with the functional I and me. Nothing beyond that. The functional I and me is where we are interacting with our family, with our friends, with our job, there's an I there. There has to be. But there is not division with anybody. There is no superiority with anybody. So there's a separation between the functional ego and the binding aspect of ego. There's a difference between these two. Sachin is superior to somebody else. My ego is binding me. Even if I feel I'm inferior to others, my ego is binding me. This is called the inferiority complex and superiority complex in psychology. So lagutha granthi, it is called the inferiority complex, is called lagutha granthi. And there's another word, which I don't remember right now, for the superiority complex. So that is all out. That is to be separated out. So that clear separation. Now, in that separation, something additional is there. That the ahankar in its totality is given at the feet of Bhagwan or Bhagwan ke Anadi Bhakta, Radha and Krishna. We're just using them as an example. You can have Shiv Parvati, you can have Ganesh Ji, you can jo aapki ichha hai, no problem. Or you can have Guru also, if you Guru or Bhagwan, you can do it that way if you want. But when that is given over, that the ahankar is completely given over through the 9 forms of devotion, because that's one of the most significant turnovers at the feet of Paramatma. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnuhu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. All those 9 forms, which we're going to talk about in another way throughout this year, it is a turning over that I am yours, main tera hu. With Shraddha, tremendous Shraddha, great Shraddha, heightened Shraddha, Purana Shraddha. In Sanskrit or Hindi we can say Purana Shraddha. There's no doubt at all. So when there's no doubt, then the ahankar is turned over. How do we turn? It's not something physical. Ahankar is not something physical. It is the I and the mine are now connected to Paramatma. The I am yours. The I is yours. And who is mine? You are mine. It sounds very simple, right? It is. It is very straightforward if we can click into that state. Clicking into that state, that is Guru Krupa. Transforming into that state, sublimating into that state, that is Guru Krupa. Isko hi Guru Krupa kehte. That's the only real Guru Krupa. Guru Krupa is what? It's from inside. What this resonance happens, and the preparation is there. Hey Prabhu, मैं तेरा हूँ. There's no zero tension. कोई tension mention कुछ फेंक दो tension को. We're not carrying anything on our head at that point. Nothing. We do our duty. But that duty is done in that light of Bhagavad Gyan. As a karma yoga, as bhakti yoga, duties are performed with a great liberated state. This is the whole point, that when the ahankar is turned over, And we'll talk more about it. But once the ahankar is actually turned over in its entirety, that the opening into prema bhakti is there, and at the same time, simultaneously, one is now entering into the domain of a Jivan Mukta. Kar sakte hai. Absolutely. Every human being can do this. This is the way out of all the trouble humanity is causing for itself. It is a direct way out. Direct way out. Otherwise, you keep spinning. People have tried to improve humanity. Nobody has been successful. Why is that? Because humanity cannot be improved until this happens. Ahankar chodna padta hai. Then there is no question of rag, dvesh, bhed, bhav, klesh. Kuch bhi nahi rehta. It doesn't remain at all. And what is the point of keeping it? Why keep that trash inside? No, I don't want that any trash inside. It's like, it's like these blockages, right? The heart, our physical heart, has these coronary arteries. Blockage hota hai to kya? You have to do angiogram, angioplasty, get that thing out, open that, put a stent inside there, do the bypass, get that block out somehow. It is causing pain, chest pain, this thing. Humanity is stuck with these blockages, psychological blockages of kam, krodh, lobh, klesh, dvesh, ahankar, mamatva, aham, mamatva. These are massive blockages inside the mind. Massive blockages. And to break them through the direct way, there's a long, long way. Bahunam janmanamante, millions of lifetimes. Ye chhod do about millions of lifetimes. I am a mukta. मैं भक्त हूँ, भगवान का पूरा भक्त हूँ, पूरा भक्त बन जाना. Don't delay. Don't waste any time in this. That bring oneself into bhakti. Bhakti, भगवान का नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया? Don't leave the holy name. We don't want to leave all these terrible things. Don't leave the holy name. Hold on to it, whatever may happen. Continue further. Get up again. Keep getting up again, and continue this journey forward. A point will come in the 9 forms of devotion where the ahankar is turned over. There is an internal shift, internal turnover. This is called Atma Samarpan. Samarpan isko कहते हैं. It's a Gujarati word, maybe it's a Hindi word also. Samarpit bhav. It's an offering of oneself at the feet of Bhagwan. And when that happens, the sense of I and mine changes its function. The functional ego remains, but even that functional ego is only, it is still in the light of Paramatma and as seva. That's all. Can you imagine that? Driving your car from one point to another. This is a functional ego will say this is my car. But the act of driving from one point to another, ye Bhagwan ki seva hai. Is it possible? Yes. Mai tu sarvani karmani. And that is a sannyasi. Sannyasi is one who can offer the karma at the feet of Paramatma. How do we do that? How is it possible that driving a car from my house to the shopping center, how is that seva? And how is that bhakti? How is that karma yoga? Because the vritti is such that we're connecting with Bhagwan. That action is not performed with vasanas. It's not performed with I and the me. That this action is performed by your grace. It is performed functionally by your krupa. That the breath is being taken, body is functioning. Aham vaishvanaro bhutva. By your grace, digestion is happening. We are living in so much ahankar, main kuch hu, we don't realize. So that ahankar is turned over. Every function of the body, if it is healthy, and which we want it to be, we are giving the credit to all of our parents and to our doctors and other people, and then in the higher sense, Bhagwan. So our ahankar doesn't remain even in the functional state. Wo nahi rehta. So then what remains? Ananda. So then your mind is free. What do you do with the free mind? Connected with Bhagwan, and dive into the amrutam of bhakti, not into the mud of raga and dvesha. You see, this is how a liberated being lives. The liberated being doesn't ever want to lose their liberation, his or her liberation. Why? Why should you lose it? Why be bound again? If a person has been released from the prison after 10 years, then they say, my God, I'm not going back there again. Isn't it so? Who wants to go back there again? Not as such. The liberation is there. So this is liberation from Maya, liberation from ignorance, liberation from problems and difficulties and ahankar and all the mess. You want, and that liberation is actually available to all of us once we retune into the mukta state. The prema bhakti and the mukta state, they are together. They're completely together. So what additionally happens here? That the self-image point. My self-image changes. I see myself in the light of bhakti. Bhakti takes over the personality, as we were saying before. That actually happens. It's not the ego-driven image that we generally carry. There is a functional image, but there is no preferred self-image. There is a natural opening of divine love. And that shines constantly everywhere. Yes. And there is peace of mind, steady mind. Why is all this necessary? Because this is what will continue that enhanced connection with Paramatma in the Prema Bhakti. That Prema Bhakti is so amazing. There is no equal to that. There's none. No experience in the 14 lokas. Not what to consider this world. Ito kuch nahi hai, this world and its experiences. There are lokas beyond. They can be seen in samadhi. उसमें भी वैराग्य हो जाता है. वो भी कुछ नहीं है compared to that prema bhakti. That is the extraordinary development. But human beings are so trapped in the vortex of this world and getting caught up and thrashing oneself. This is a way out. It is day to day. And don't delay. Don't get out of the mind, this will happen later. Bring it now. Do not delay it at all. Get out of this mind, this notion that I will be a liberated being sometime in the future. That concept is wrong. It's fundamentally delaying liberation. Don't delay it. Don't delay it at all. Mala lena, take a mala, make a diya, have the murti of Vigraha, Ishtadevata or Bhagwan ke Bhakta, Sant Parampara, respect all, love all. And the sadhana is to resonance. I am a mukta. All of these ideas, they're all recorded here. You can listen to it later on, and say, that's me. And in that, live as a completely liberated being, moment to moment. Who can stop us? Why? Why should anybody deprive themselves of this? This is where your energy, Antarik Shakti, it awakens. Bhagwan Swayam aate hai. He says, my God, you really are interested in coming to me this way? I'll clear everything up for you. Kiski tayari hai? Are we ready to dump all the trash out? Think of it this way, Get it out. The trash that is in our head. Take it and Vivek se usko separate kar dena. It doesn't belong. And this is where the ahankar changes. The vasanas, the internal vasanas are what? Latent inclinations, deep tendencies that bias perception and action. Wo bhi sab change ho jate hain. That are causing so much damage inside. All of the energy that is inside the vasanas, that is turned into bhakti. Vasana turns into bhakti. Because the Shakti is the same. Vasana Shakti is the same Shakti that is in bhakti. But the Vasana that is inside of us, Vasanas meaning desires. All kinds of desires. Yes, we have a functional level, eating, drinking, but basic bodily function. But the Ananda that comes from bhakti, once we taste that, these other things are fine. और वो भी सब भगवान के light में आ जाता है. A glimpse of love, a glimpse of bhakti. And then in that, there is a natural samatva. Samatva means equanimity in the panch vishayas. A बहुत बड़ा subject. I won't really expand this point, but we're already at 8:58 and I want to stick to time. Just mention 1 or 2 points and we'll do the closing mantra. Our vasanas turn into sadvasana. Asad vasana ki nivrutti ho jati. Nivrutti means it stops. That is krupa of Shri Radha. वो कृपा है, कृपा कटाक्ष. The asad vasana, it goes completely from inside because of the heightened wanting of bhakti. What does Radhika ji want to give us? What does Sita ji want to give us? What does Hanuman ji want to give us? They want to give us bhakti. What does Ramakrishna Paramahans want to give us? The great sages throughout the world, any tradition, what do they want? Saint Teresa, or what's the name? Saint Francis of Assisi. So bade Christian sant bhi ho gaye, bahut ho gaye. What do they want to give us? They don't want anything from us. They want to give us, through their lives, through their teachings, that opening into bhakti, into love. That's all they want to give. There's nothing other than that. And when we are ready to receive that devotion, my God, the vasanas transmute, they sublimate, they go through transfiguration. It's a technical word. They internally change their root level swarup. बहुत transformation हो जाता है इसका. So the energy that is sucked up by the vasanas is now available for bhakti. Let's stop here for now because we are at 9 o'clock and I know everybody's busy with schedules and all. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarshi Sarvadom Ganganapate Namaha Om Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha Om Namah Shivaya Shri Radha Krishna Arpanamastu Om Hrim Swaha.